Hello and welcome back to this class. So in this class we are going to learn how to use React Native use context, which is used for context is used for passing data across different screens. So we can use it to validate user data and then pass it down across different screens. Okay, so we already set up our Firebase here. As you can see, the next thing we need to do is in this config file, we have to also create another file here called context.js. So in this context file, we're going to import a few things. We're going to import useContext from React. We're also going to import useState and useEffect. Alright. Then we need to also import auth, this one here, coming from Firebase auth. So we're going to import that here. We're going to import auth from Firebase config. That's our Firebase configuration file. And then we also need to import unchanged. We have to import unchanged text. Unchanged rather. On or change from Firebase auth. So this will allow us to know when the user is logged in or when the user is logged out. Alright, so the first thing we have to do is we have to create an auth context, because at the end we need to wrap our entire app, that is the root folder of the root layout of our app. We have to wrap it in the auth context. So I'll say constant auth context which is going to be what? Create context. Okay, should import create context too. That's all we should even import, not use context, create context. So we import create context. So here we call on create context, and then the next thing we have to do is write a function. So we're going to export default function, and this function will be, the name of this function will be what? The auth provider. Okay, so we import the auth provider here. So this auth provider also has this auth provider can take properties of children. That's an object of children that will be passed down as properties. So in this place, we're going to destructure constant. Okay, we can also pass in an object here of current user, and the value will be undefined at initial state. So here we're going to have current user also, and set current user. This is going to be equal to useState, a useState, and the initial value will be null, because we don't really know the current user until the person is logged in, right? Before we can say that this person is the current user. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, we have to write a use effect here. So we have to pass in a use effect here, and the use effect takes a callback function. This use effect also takes another parameter, takes auth as a parameter, that is this auth here, and then user, which is just parameter for this is not use context, sorry, this is on auth changed. So here we simply pass in, we set current user to user, and then because this is a use, oh, okay, let me write that again. I'll just cut this. So we first need a use effect, and the use effect, it takes a callback function. So inside this callback function now, we'll now call on auth changed, which also takes auth and the callback function. So it's going to take auth and then a callback function, and this takes a parameter of user too. So here we simply going to set current user to user, and because this is a use effect, we pass in a dependency array here. We pass in a dependency array here because this is a use effect. Okay, then we are now going to return auth context dot provider, this auth context here, the provider. So here we can see use undefined. Let's use undefined here so that it matches with what we have above. And this takes in value, and okay, before value we have to also pass in children here, pass in an object of children here. So this takes value, and the value we're going to pass in here is what? Current user. So that's step one. The second step is for us now to go to root layout. Here. So in this root layout, we are going to now configure it in a way that if this particular user is not verified, they will not be able to see our main app thread, which is the tabs. They'll be able to see every other screen, like the sign up, the sign in, or the index, but they will not be able to see these tabs. Only authenticated and logged in user will be able to see the tabs. So that's what we're trying to achieve, that only the authenticated user will be able to see the tabs, this tabs screen that we have here. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we have to wrap this whole app in our auth provider. So I'll simply just cut this and okay, before that let's import. We're going to import. Oh, did we export it? Okay, yeah. See, we export it here, the auth provider. So here in our layout, we're going to import the auth provider. No, auth provider. It should pop up. Doesn't pop up. Let me do it manually. Auth provider from dot dot slash. We go to config slash context. It says is it clear? Yes, that's right. So here we cut this Ctrl X and then I call the auth provider. Okay, I think there's a problem with our export, so let's check that out here. Okay, just a minute. Okay, we have to export here too. So we export this auth context too. Yes. And back to our layout. So let me quickly just take this out and paste that thing. Ctrl V to paste that thing we initially had. So I'm going to attempt to import it again. That should fix the error. So I'm going to import auth context from dot dot slash config slash context. Also we want to import the auth provider from there. This can be correct. We have auth context provider. We have auth provider here. This is what we're trying to import. So let me just copy that name and put it here. It could be a spelling error. Okay, I think maybe we can import this as an object. So let me try to import it single as import from dot dot slash config slash context. Yes, so we're on track. So I'll simply copy this Ctrl X and then I call on the auth provider and then I paste it here. Also, there's something we need to do. We have to import. We need to import use context here. So we import use context from React. So here we simply say with the structure current user here. So constant current user let me see if that spelling is correct. Yes, current user. So I'll just fetch this name here just for to avoid spelling errors. Then let me quickly indent this. So we go back to layout, and here we're going to let me pass in that current user here, and then I'm simply going to say use context, and then we pass in what all context. Okay, so inside this place we simply want to do uh, let's do a JavaScript interpolation here. So let me just move this one down. Yes, and then this one here at the beginning here I'll call an object, and then at the end here I'll call the closing. So I'll simply say not current user current user. If current user is not undefined, if current user is not okay, I think I missed something here. If current user is not undefined, show these tabs or show the login. Okay, I think that's is gonna be here, not current user rather. So if it's not current user, oops, if not current user, undefined. If current user rather is not undefined, oops, current user is not undefined, we want to say this, else we want to say this other one. But I see an error here. Okay, I think this should be here. So we close this here, and then we pass this here. So we'll get rid of this. Nope. Okay, let me look into that again. Let me look into that again. Okay, so this should come here. So if current user oops, this can be correct. This can't be correct. So let's try that again. Okay, I'll indent again. Now the error is gone. So we're going to try that again. So we say current user is not equal to undefined show this. Okay, I think I know why we're putting this in the wrong place. This should be inside the stack.screen. So this should be inside the stack.screen here. Open there, close here. Then we simply say current user not undefined current user is not undefined or show us this. Yeah, so let me indent. So you see that if current user is not undefined, show us stack the tabs, else show us sign up. So let us refresh our application and see if we're on track. So you see that the application loads on the sign up screen. So that's to say that our user validation works correctly, because you can see that we cannot access the main app. That is because current user is currently undefined. We're not signing yet, so we can't view this particular screen in the app, which is the tabs. So the only way we can see this is when we now register with an email and a password, and then we can log in and be able to see the tabs. Alright, so that's how we can use the use context for user validation and to also pass user data across screens. So as you can see, even if I refresh again, we are always going to go back to the sign-in screen. So perhaps now I want the user who is not logged in to see the sign up screen. All I have to do is move it up and move the sign in screen down. So okay, I can just change the name if I want to. Here, I can change it to sign up. That's if the user is not validated, show us the sign up, not sign in. You're going to see that when we refresh again, we're going to start on the sign up this time around. So you see that, right? We start on the sign up. But the right way to do it is for the user to start up on sign in, and then if they don't have an account, they can now navigate to sign up. So if I refresh now, we're going to start on sign up because we are not logged in yet. Sign in rather. See that? We start on sign in. Yes. So that's how to use context for state management across our app. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next class. Yeah, so that's it.